Time, what a mysterious and powerful thing. It's invisible, yet it controls everything. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't slow it down, and yet your entire life is wrapped up in how you use it. Time is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy or broke, educated or untrained, young or old, we all get the same 24 hours in a day. The question is never how much time we have. The question is always what we choose to do with it. Now, here's the part that most folks miss. Time is the seed of change. You don't need a full day. You don't need a breakthrough. You don't even need a big opportunity. What you need is 1 hour. One single, consistent, focused hour each day, planted like a seed in the fertile soil of discipline and nurtured by daily effort. That's what creates change. That's what builds a new future. Just like you plant an acorn and wait for the oak to rise, you plant your hour each day and let the harvest take care of itself. See, too many people want instant results. They want the reward without the routine. They want the transformation without the time. But life doesn't work that way. Nature doesn't work that way. Everything valuable takes time, and that time needs to be invested. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying an hour is going to change everything in a single day. That's not how seeds work. If you plant a seed today and dig it up tomorrow, you've got nothing. The seed doesn't need interruption. It needs consistency, it needs patience, and most of all, it needs faith. Faith that your daily effort matters. Faith that what you're doing today will pay off down the road. It's the little things done daily, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but daily, that shape your life. You read 10 pages a day, and in a year, you've read 36 books. You journal every morning, and before long, you begin to understand your own thinking. You spend an hour listening to good ideas instead of noise, and your perspective starts to shift. 1 hour a day is not just about doing something useful, it's about becoming someone different. Think about the farmer. He doesn't hope, he prepares. He doesn't guess if the season will come. He trusts that what he plants will grow, so long as he keeps doing what needs to be done. That's how time works when it's used well. You prepare, you plant, and then you let time do its part. Because time is not the enemy, time is the partner, the silent partner in every success story. One of the most powerful discoveries you can make is that you don't need to fix everything in your life all at once. You just need to change how you use 1 hour, and if you can master that, you can master your day, and if you can master your day, you can shape your week, your month, your year, until, almost before you notice, your whole life has taken a new direction. And it didn't come from massive action or a total overhaul. It came from planting the seed of 1 hour. Over and over until the harvest came, time has this quiet way of rewarding the faithful. It doesn't clap, a network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help.opanai.com. Discipline equals progress discipline, that little word with such big consequences. It's not glamorous, it's not flashy, and most of the time it doesn't get applause. But it's the invisible force behind every meaningful achievement. Discipline is the bridge between thought and action, between intentions and outcomes. Without it, ideas stay trapped in our minds and potential never becomes progress. You can have dreams. You can write goals. You can fill up notebooks with plans and vision boards with pictures of your ideal life. But until you apply discipline, consistent, daily, quiet discipline, all of that remains imagination. And imagination is wonderful, but discipline turns it into reality. Discipline is what separates the wishful from the successful. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even intelligence. I've seen brilliant people accomplish little and average people accomplish great things, and the difference was always discipline. The ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Now, discipline doesn't mean working like a machine. It doesn't mean you have to grind yourself into the ground. No, discipline is more elegant than that. It's the decision to keep promises you made to yourself. It's the willingness to trade a little comfort now for a lot of growth later. It's telling yourself, I'll read these pages, I'll do this workout, I'll make this call, and then following through, not because someone is watching, but because you've decided who you want to become. Progress never asks for perfection, it asks for persistence, and persistence is just discipline stretched out over time. One disciplined hour today becomes the confidence to take on the next, and before long, the actions that once felt difficult become part of who you are. That's the real reward of discipline, not just the results, but the transformation in your character. People often think discipline is restrictive. They think it limits freedom, but the opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom. When you have the discipline to take care of your body, you're free to enjoy your health. When you have the discipline to manage your money, you're free from debt and financial stress. When you have the discipline to learn and grow, you're free to take advantage of opportunities others can't. Discipline is not the enemy of joy, it's the foundation of it. And here's something else, you don't have to feel disciplined to act with discipline. That's where most people trip up. They wait to feel motivated, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. You wake up and decide, whether I feel like it or not, I do what needs to be done. That's maturity. That's responsibility. That's where progress begins. One of the simplest disciplines you can build is keeping a commitment to just 1 hour a day. An hour where you don't negotiate with distractions, where you don't argue with excuses. You just show up and do the thing. Maybe you read, maybe you study, maybe you write or reflect or train. Whatever it is, you do it not for instant results, but because you've chosen to become a person of discipline. And here's the miracle. Small disciplines done daily add up to massive change. You won't notice it in a week. You may not even see it clearly in a month, but time respects discipline. It multiplies it. Like compounding interest, it starts slow, then suddenly it takes off. The people around you will start to notice first. They'll say things like, "You've changed," or "You're on a different path." And they'll be right, because discipline puts you on a different path than the average person. It pulls you away from the crowd. And not everyone will understand it, but that's okay. You're not doing it for applause. You're doing it for progress. And remember, every act of discipline strengthens you, even the smallest ones. Choosing to get up when you'd rather stay in bed. Choosing to learn when it would be easier to entertain yourself. Choosing to delay the easy reward for the greater reward down the road. Each of these decisions is like adding a brick to the foundation of your life. Strong, steady, reliable. That's what discipline builds, not a flimsy rush of motivation, but a structure you can depend on. And you don't have to fix everything at once. You don't have to become a new person overnight. You just have to begin with 1 hour. 1 hour where discipline is the rule and progress is the result. That hour becomes your proving ground. That's where you test your resolve. That's where you meet the version of yourself who says, I don't skip, I don't quit, I do what needs to be done. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Because it leads somewhere better. Because the person who has discipline has direction. And the person with direction doesn't drift. They move forward, they grow, they rise, and it all begins with a decision to make discipline a habit, not an event, a lifestyle, not a one-time effort, a companion, not a chore. And as discipline grows, so does progress, because the two are always connected. One feeds the other, one shapes the other, one reveals the potential that's been waiting all along underneath the surface, just needing the consistent push of daily effort to rise into view. There's a time in every day that most people give away without thinking, a window of 60 minutes that slips by in the name of entertainment, distraction, or obligation. And yet that very hour, if reclaimed, can become the most valuable time in your life. 1 hour not for others, not for the demands of the world, but 1 hour reserved specifically for you. Not selfishly, but strategically. 1 hour for you to build, reflect, learn, and become. You see, the average day is filled with noise. Phones buzzing, notifications popping, people asking, tasks piling up. And if you're not careful, the day controls you instead of you controlling it. But when you carve out 1 hour, just one, and say, this is mine, something begins to change. The hour becomes sacred. It becomes an anchor, and in a world that wants your attention every second, claiming that hour is a revolutionary act. The reason most people don't grow is not because they lack ambition, it's because they've never made time their ally. They've never taken back control of the day long enough to ask, what do I want? Where am I headed? Who am I becoming? That's what 1 hour for you is really about. It's not about cramming in more work. It's about making space for clarity, space for personal leadership, space to become more aware of what's happening inside, not just outside. When you dedicate an hour to yourself, it sends a powerful message to your own subconscious that you matter, that your development is a priority, that your future is worth investing in, and that hour becomes more than a break from routine. It becomes a declaration. A declaration that you're not going to drift through life, that you're not going to let the day dictate your growth, that you've chosen to show up for yourself on purpose. Most people wait until they're in crisis to start thinking about their life. They wait until they're burned out, broke, or broken down to stop and reflect. But you don't have to wait for pain to make a change. You can choose discipline over regret. You can choose to think ahead. You can choose 1 hour a day while things are still manageable, to grow into someone who can handle more, do more, become more. Think about what can be done in that hour. In 60 minutes, you can read what it took someone else a lifetime to learn. You can sit quietly and write down your goals. You can evaluate your habits and design a better way forward. You can study your craft, sharpen your skills, revisit your values. The hour is not empty, it's full of opportunity. but only if you decide to use it wisely. And you might say, I don't have an extra hour, but it's never really about time. It's about choices. The average person finds an hour a day for television, or for scrolling endlessly on a screen, or for conversations that go nowhere. So it's not a matter of availability, it's a matter of awareness. The hour is there. The question is, who's using it, you or everyone else? 1 hour for you is not a luxury. It's not indulgence, it's survival. It's how you stay centered when life gets loud. It's how you build strength before the challenge comes. It's how you grow roots before the storm hits. Because once life gets busy, and it always will, that hour becomes your edge. It's the one piece of time no one can steal if you protect it with intention. It's not always about doing something dramatic. Some days you might read, other days you might write. Some mornings you'll simply sit in silence and breathe. But in that hour you're not reacting, you're leading, you're not catching up, you're getting ahead. That's the difference between being busy and being intentional, and it starts by deciding that at least 1 hour of your day will belong to you. And here's where the magic begins. When you consistently give yourself that hour, you begin to rise. Not in a way that shouts, but in a way that builds, quietly, steadily. You think better, you feel clearer. Your decisions improve, your standards rise. The things that used to rattle you lose their power because you've been grounding yourself daily. You've been planting deep roots. Other people will notice before you do. They'll say, you seem different lately. You'll smile not because of ego, but because you know why. Because you've been meeting yourself each day. You've been showing up when no one's watching. You've been investing in the only asset you truly own, your mind, your body, your spirit. That hour wasn't a task, it was a declaration of self-respect, and over time, that hour becomes your identity. It becomes your edge. It becomes the place where you remember who you are and who you're becoming. 1 hour for you isn't selfish. It's how you make sure you have something of value to give to the rest of the day. You can't pour from an empty cup. But when you start your day with intention, when you give yourself space to breathe, to learn, to grow, you don't show up to life half full. You show up ready, you show up strong, you show up with clarity, not because the world slowed down, but because you started before the world sped up. Because 1 hour for you gave you the foundation you need to stand firm in a world that moves fast and pulls in every direction. Because that hour wasn't just about what you did, it was about who you became in the process of showing up for it, day after day, with consistency, with focus, with no applause and no shortcuts. Just the quiet knowing that you're doing the work that matters most. Daily investment beats occasional intensity. If there's one truth about growth, it's this: consistency beats intensity. Every time. It's not the one-time heroic effort that changes your life. It's the quiet, steady investment made day after day that builds a foundation strong enough to last. People love the idea of a big moment, a breakthrough, a grand gesture that changes everything overnight. But real progress doesn't come from doing a lot once. It comes from doing a little every day with purpose and intention. We've all seen it. Someone gets inspired, sets a big goal, and throws themselves into it with fiery energy. Maybe they go to the gym for 3 hours one day, or they read an entire book in one sitting, or they write out a massive list of goals and promises to change everything in a weekend. And while the energy is admirable, what happens next is predictable. A few days later, the fire burns out. The routine fades, life gets in the way, and just like that, the intensity disappears, and with it, the progress. That's because occasional intensity is fueled by emotion, and emotion is temporary. You can't build a life on emotion alone. But daily discipline, daily investment, that's a habit, that's a structure, that's something you can count on even when your feelings change. Because feelings come and go, but habits stay. They show up when motivation doesn't. They do the work even when it's inconvenient. And over time, they create momentum. Now, daily investment doesn't look dramatic. It's often invisible. No one cheers when you read 10 pages. No one celebrates when you get up early and write your goals down. There's no parade when you choose to reflect for 15 minutes instead of watching another episode, but these small daily choices, these deposits into your future, they compound. Slowly at first, then all at once. Just like saving money, every little bit adds up, and one day you wake up with a mental bank account that's full of discipline, clarity, focus, and strength. One of the most important realizations you can have is that a little done daily is more powerful than a lot done occasionally. You don't need to change your whole life in a weekend. You don't need to be a different person overnight. You just need to do the right thing today, and then do it again tomorrow. That's the formula. That's the rhythm of mastery. Not sprints, but steps. Steps taken consistently. Steps repeated until they become automatic. The reason daily investment works is because it builds identity. When you do something every day, even if it's small, it starts to define you. You're no longer someone who occasionally eats healthy. You're someone who chooses discipline. You're no longer someone who reads now and then. You're a learner. You're not just writing when inspiration hits. You're a writer. Daily action becomes part of how you see yourself, and once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't rely on motivation. It doesn't depend on the mood of the day. You don't need the stars to align. You just need to show up, day in, day out, like clockwork, like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth with intensity once a month. You do it every day without thinking. That's how your personal growth habits should be. Simple, consistent, automatic. Now, does this mean there's no room for inspiration or big moments? Of course not. Inspiration can start the fire. It can give you a glimpse of what's possible, but it's not the fuel you run on. Inspiration gets you going. Consistency keeps you growing. You have to trade the rush of excitement for the power of routine. The energy of a sprint fades, but the results of a daily jog over time will outpace the runner who bolts off the starting line and collapses halfway. Daily investment isn't just about doing, it's about becoming. You show up for the hour, yes, but more importantly, you show up for yourself. You prove with each small action that you can be trusted, that you keep promises to yourself, that you are serious about your future. And that kind of quiet self-respect becomes a powerful force. It changes the way you carry yourself. It changes what you expect from others. It changes the level at which you play the game of life. It's also how you build resilience. Because when life throws something unexpected at you, and it always does, you don't fall apart. You've built a foundation. You've shown up every day and strengthened the core. and that core holds you steady when the winds blow. You're not relying on hype anymore. You're relying on habits, not on emotion, but on discipline, not on external circumstances, but on internal standards. You don't need perfect conditions because you've trained yourself to do the work anyway. That's what daily investment gives you, not just better results, but a better you. A version of yourself who doesn't panic, doesn't give up, doesn't look for shortcuts. A version of yourself that can be counted on by you. And that's the most valuable thing of all. Designing a better future begins today. The future is not something we stumble into. It's something we design deliberately, thoughtfully, consistently. It's not handed to us. It's built by the small decisions we make, the disciplines we keep, and the mindset we carry each day. Too often, people talk about the future like it's a mystery, like it's hidden behind some curtain waiting to surprise them. But your future is not hidden. It's a reflection of what you do today. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of life you want to live. Every hour you invest, every thought you shape, every book you read, every conversation you allow, it's all building something. Either it's building the future you want, or it's reinforcing the one you don't. There is no neutral ground. Time doesn't pause, it doesn't stop and wait for you to catch up. It keeps moving forward with or without your permission. And so the wise learn to work with time instead of against it. The problem is, most people delay their future. They think, one day I'll get serious, one day I'll get organized, one day I'll start, but the truth is, one day never comes. The calendar moves, the world spins, and nothing changes unless you decide to make today count. Not next year, not next month, today, because designing your future doesn't start with dramatic changes. It starts with small, intentional choices made in the present. The habits you practice today are shaping the person you'll become 5 years from now. If you read today, you'll become wiser. If you save today, you'll become wealthier. If you train today, you'll become stronger. And if you do nothing today, well, you'll be the same or less in the years ahead. Nothing is static. You're either moving forward or sliding backward, and the difference between success and regret is often measured in the use of a single day. That's why designing your future begins not with ambition, but with awareness. You have to become conscious of where your time goes. You have to watch your routines, your thinking patterns, your emotional responses. Because the future doesn't only depend on your goals, it depends on your systems. And systems are built from habits that get repeated day after day, whether you're aware of them or not. You can't build a better life by hoping for one. Hope is wonderful, but it's not a strategy. Hope doesn't replace effort. If you want a better life, you have to become the kind of person who earns it. The kind of person who works on themselves, sharpens their mind, adjusts their attitude, and disciplines their behavior. It's not about getting lucky. It's about getting intentional. It's about deciding that your life is too valuable to be left to chance. So, where do you begin? You begin by identifying what kind of future you actually want, not what someone else wants for you, not what looks good on paper, but the life that would make you feel proud, fulfilled, useful, and then you reverse engineer it. You ask, what kind of person would have that life? What do they know? How do they think? What do they do that I'm not doing yet? And slowly, deliberately, you begin to build those qualities into your daily life. You don't have to make giant leaps, but you do have to take consistent steps, because every day is a brick. And if you stack the bricks carefully, patiently, with attention and effort, you eventually build something solid, something real, a life that's not just successful, but deeply satisfying, a life where you didn't just arrive somewhere by accident, you arrived on purpose. It's easy to underestimate the power of a day. One day doesn't seem like much, but 1,000 days, built with care, becomes a legacy. 1 hour today may feel small, but compounded over time, it reshapes your thinking, your habits, your outcomes. And before long, you look around and realize you've become a different person, not by force, but by direction. Not by chasing everything, but by choosing what matters most. When you take control of your day, you take control of your direction. And when your direction is clear, your confidence grows, because you're no longer drifting, you're designing. And the future belongs to the designers, not the drifters. It belongs to those who wake up with purpose, who align their actions with their vision, who understand that today is the raw material out of which tomorrow is made. It belongs to the ones who don't wait for inspiration, but build structure, the ones who create rhythm, not chaos. And they do it not just once, but again and again, until designing their future becomes second nature. Designing a better future doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require heroic effort. What it requires is a decision, a quiet but powerful decision that today matters. That today is not to be wasted, dismissed, or taken for granted. That today is a gift, a tool, a responsibility. And that the future you want is not found in some far-off moment, but built step by step, habit by habit, hour by hour, starting exactly where you are, with exactly what you have, and with the commitment to make every day count toward something greater than comfort or convenience, toward a future that reflects who you truly are and what you were truly meant to become. 1 hour. Just 60 minutes, not a lifetime, not a decade, 1 hour a day. That's all it takes to begin changing the course of your life. And not through magic, not through luck, but through intention, through the quiet decision to take back control of your time, your habits, your thoughts, and your direction. Success doesn't happen by accident. Fulfillment doesn't knock on your door while you're distracted. The life you want, the person you want to become, they're waiting on the other side of discipline. Not massive action once in a while, but steady, deliberate, daily investment. The kind of investment that compounds. That builds confidence, that shapes character, that proves to you day after day that you are in control of your own transformation. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't need a complete overhaul overnight. You just need 1 hour. An hour to grow, an hour to reflect, an hour to strengthen the inner foundations that guide the outer results. And if you give yourself that hour not once, but every day, it becomes more than a habit. It becomes a way of life. Use that hour to think deeply, to read wisely, to plan carefully, to sharpen your mind, renew your spirit, and stretch your vision. Because the person who invests 1 hour a day in themselves builds something far more powerful than success. They build self-respect. They build momentum. They build a future that wasn't left to chance, but designed with clarity and courage. And in a world of distraction, noise, and busyness, that 1 hour becomes your edge, your advantage, your anchor, not because the hour itself is magic, but because what you do with it transforms everything else. So guard it, protect it, use it, because 1 hour a day used well won't just change your schedule. It will change your mindset, and when your mindset changes, your future does too. The clock is ticking. Not to pressure you, but to remind you your future is being built right now, and 1 hour a day is enough to build it well.